In certain times, people, look to us often, well, what do you think? How do you feel? And we know that while we're all breathing a sigh of relief over the verdict, there's still work to be done. And so we can't sort of say, great, that happened, let's move on.
Welcome back to The Cross Connection. This is the part of the show where we talk about the hottest trending topics of the week, including the former First Lady's reaction to the Chauvin verdict. While on the ground in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, faith leaders are demanding justice for Andrew Brown, and now a federal grand jury has indicted Derek Chauvin and 3 other former Minneapolis police officers on charges of violating George Floyd's civil rights during the fatal arrest. In a separate indictment, Chauvin was hit with an additional charge of violating the rights of a 14-year-old back in 2017, allegedly holding this child by the throat and striking him multiple times in the head with a flashlight. Now, this comes just days after Chauvin's attorney requested a new trial on several grounds, including jury misconduct. Joining me now to discuss, Angela Rye, politics and culture commentator and host of On One with Angela Rye, Roland Martin, host of Roland Martin Unfiltered, the daily digital show, and Amanda Nguyen, founder and CEO of Rise, and 2019 Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Roro, I want to come to you. You're on ground in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Tell me what's happening there.
Well, in about 3 minutes, Reverend Dr. William J. Barber is going to be leading a march from the Boys and Girls Club here over to the county courthouse, where they're going to have a rally. Leaders from all across North Carolina with the NAACP and church leaders are here. They want to keep the attention going. Since Andrew Brown Jr. was shot and killed April 21st, there have been daily protests here in Elizabeth City, all peaceful, but every single day there's been a protest, and this is the latest.
And what are they asking for? I know the judge has released 20 minutes of video to the family. What are the protesters demanding from the city?
Well, that's one of the issues that they actually have, that the judge limited how much video they were actually going to be able to release, just a maximum of 20 minutes out of 2 hours. Also, they're angry that the judge has taken so long. You're also going to likely see calls for the DA, Andrew Womble, to recuse himself and to turn this over to allow the state attorney general to come in. And so they want full transparency, and they're saying they simply have not gotten it, and that's the pressure that they want. And there's some questions being raised about this particular judge as well. Because of that decision, he all of a sudden is now vetting videotape. And then he also said nearly 2 weeks ago, the family will be able to get to see the video within 10 days. Well, he waited until Thursday to issue the ruling and said the clock of the 10 days started on Thursday. So folks are like, what's going on? What's the deal?
Wow. Angela, this is the point that I was making earlier. It's not that this one police officer was on trial. It's the system that's on trial. So we just talked about Chauvin's incident with the 14-year-old where he assaulted this child, hitting him in the head with a flashlight. I'm curious, and the temerity that his attorneys are requesting a new trial on the heels of this revelation. Can this new incident impact his chances at getting another trial?
No, I think what we have to be clear about separating is the newest indictments are federal indictments under Section 242, which requires that police officers, that the prosecution proves that police officers acted with intent, willfully subjected someone to the deprivation of their rights. That's what's happening in both of those cases. And this other case where he has already been convicted of murder as well as 2 other lesser charges have to do with that particular appeal at the state level. So it is a very different thing. What we also have to be mindful of is the judge did not admit the evidence associated with the case with the 14-year-old, which is the second indictment Derek Chauvin is a part of right now at the federal level. Again, the Department of Justice has a responsibility under 242 to bring criminal charges against folks acting under color of the law. And that is what the police officers have done here. Unreasonable search and seizure, or illegal search and seizure, unreasonable force, failure to intervene, and no medical attention as it relates to George Floyd. And of course, with the young man, the young boy, the 14-year-old boy who he grabbed by the throat and beat several times with the flashlight. It's unreasonable force and unreasonable seizure from 2017. So if there wasn't ever a George Floyd, we would not probably have the federal charges against Derek Chauvin now. It took 9 minutes and 29 seconds watching someone lose their life for this young boy to even get an attempt at justice.
Yeah, I mean, you know, black people in this country have routinely had to die in spectacular fashion to pierce some of the white narratives of what happens to us. Amanda, I want to turn to you because I'm curious, you know, there's a lot of debate around defund the police. And I'm curious from your peers and people who you talk to, is defund the police challenging for some because it's a messaging problem, or do people that you talk to have a challenge with the actual policy of reallocating funds and making and rethinking public safety?
I don't think it's a messaging problem. You know, time and time again, we have seen that even though communities are told to turn to the state in order to have our wounds be helped, well, we just get more salt in it. And recent events, while yes, there are rulings that have shown, okay, we can breathe a sigh of relief, we have so much more to go. It honestly feels like we're being given breadcrumbs, especially when you compare it against the system and history of how the state has failed people of color.
Good point. Roland, I'm curious because on your show, everywhere I go, people love listening and watching your show, and you engage a lot with your viewers. Do your viewers say that defund the police is a messaging problem or a policy problem? Because I have to say, I've heard from black people who don't understand the hashtag. You know, they just see that and get nervous about it. What do people say to you about that whole message or message as a policy?
I'll make two comparisons: defund the police and Obamacare. Here's what you have. When you have the opposition who then will turn it on you and then will attack and then will then spin it with their particular narrative, that's what you have. And so you have had individuals who've explained exactly what that means. The problem that we have to confront in the United States is that we don't want to deal with the reality that in many cities, 25, 30, 35, 40% of the entire city budget is on policing. We have used policing for everything. And so, to all the people, I hear James Carville out there, I've heard Congressman Jim Clyburn, I've heard other Democrats say, oh, defund the police is bad. Okay, gotcha. Give me a phrase then. Okay, exactly what is it? At the end of the day, people want to see the shifting of resources and getting away from a country where there's a complete focus on about the police. And so the folks who are out there protesting, they've explained what it means. They've explained what they want to see happen. But the resistance is other people doing it because they are afraid of the cops. The police have a powerful police unions. They have a powerful narrative where people say, oh my God, I need to be safe. But they don't want to give up the resources and shift it to social workers, shift it to folks with mental health. That's the fundamental problem in this country, how we look at policing.
Angela, you know, Roland makes a good point, and I want to shift us to Atlanta because in Atlanta, we found out Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms announces she won't run for a second term, and I want you to take a listen to what she said.
In the same way that it was very clear to me almost 5 years ago that I should run for mayor of Atlanta, it is abundantly clear to me today that it is time to pass the baton on to someone else.
Now, this announcement comes on the heels as the officer who shot Rayshard Brooks has been allowed to go back on patrol duty. But she's been, you know, pretty successful when it comes to fundraising, and she has a 68% approval rating. What do you think this is about? Because she didn't give any hint to what her political future looks like.
You know, Tiffany, I haven't talked to Mayor Keisha, who I always say is my mayor named Keisha, about this at all. Trying to just give her the space to process through whatever she is contemplating as she makes her next steps. But what I will tell you is we had a conversation for the Aspen Ideas Festival, and I saw pain and exhaustion around that experience that I think a lot of people don't understand. I think the Rayshard Brooks killing really shook her up in ways that we'll never truly understand. You saw that heart-wrenching press conference. You saw the fallout in her feeling torn about, yes, wanting to protect the city that she's the mayor of, but also being abundantly frustrated about police and the police union power. This is the most heart-wrenching thing I think a Black elected official can go through. We all remember when Barack Obama went into the Rose Garden and said Trayvon Martin could be his son, right?
Right.
Those are the things that remind you of your humanity when you are supposed to be the most powerful person in your space. And so I do think that had a lot to do with her decision. She has kids, young men in the house, and so I think that has a lot to do with it. But I will reserve judgment until I talk to her myself.
Definitely no judgment here. I'm curious to see what her next steps are. Whatever they be, I'm sure they'll be great. There's also another race happening in Georgia, Amanda, I want to get your take on. BODS is challenging the Secretary of State. She's going to run against the present Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who's both a Trump acolyte and an enemy of Trump because he tried to uphold the integrity of the election in Georgia. There's a huge AAPI voting bloc that proved to be very instrumental in delivering power of the federal government to the Democrats. But also, Brian Kemp just signed into law a draconian voter suppression bill. So what do we think is going to happen with the electorate in Georgia? How will they be impacted moving forward?
Well, our democracy only works when those in power reflect the people they represent. Seeing is believing. And AAPI has made the margin of victory within Georgia. So often people, especially political parties, overlook going to poll us. And I'm just grateful that there's more representation out there.
Yeah, definitely. Roland, I want to get your take really quickly on Keisha Lance Bottoms. Did you have any thoughts there?
I think what Angela said is true. I sent her a text, haven't talked to her yet. And folks have to understand, when you are a mayor, you're not a mayor Monday through Friday. It is 7 days a week. It is taxing. It is very difficult. And if she made that decision where she said, look, it's time to move on, that's actually what's best in the interest of voters because you want somebody who is committed. If you read the book of Maynard Jackson, it took a toll on his family and eventually to divorce. That's a reality when you are a politician and you're mayor of a major city like that.
Yeah, and speaking of taxing, I feel like this has been a taxing season on everybody. So for folks who might be carrying the quarantine 15, you're not alone. For those of us who might eat our emotions, Will Smith wrote on Instagram this week, "I'm gonna be real with y'all, I'm in the worst shape of my life." And in the second post, he strikes a pose declaring he's ready to get back in shape. Angela, I have to tell you, Will Smith with a dad bod still looks pretty good looking to me. The man is handsome. But I don't have, when you get older, you have to understand not everybody's going to look like a 25-year-old athlete, So I think he looks handsome. But I know you know him. What are your thoughts on this old dad bod craze that we're experiencing now?
Will is crazy. Like, he started this whole internet viral moment now with all these men posting with their shirts off. And I'm probably going to get dragged for this, but I wish y'all would put your shirts back on, okay? That ain't cute. Come on, look at this. Like,
they look good.
Back up off the brothers, Angela. Back up off the brothers, Angela.
Hold on, Roro. Hold on. I was just going to say the only other thing, though, is I do appreciate the shamelessness. Like, here I am naked and not ashamed. It is what it is, except all of me and my love handles, which I can relate to because I got some quarantine love handles. You have the floor, Roland Martin.
Roland, I just wanted to just really quickly, Roland, before you weigh in, this could be a part of toxic diet culture. A lot of us are forced to starve ourselves or whatever. So before you weigh in, I'm just curious what your thought is on the whole thing, including the toxic diet culture that exists.
I sent Will a text saying, hell no. Stop it. No. Look, here's what he's done. First of all, you got to remember, it's a YouTube series he's shooting. and what he's going to be dealing with doctors and other people like that. And look, I'm one of those folks. Y'all ain't no way in hell we taking that photo with shirt off. But I've been one of those folks who put the pounds on and actually have dropped 15 since COVID started, and plan to lose more. And what this also is important for black men, encouraging us to be able to lose weight, get healthy. You look at the stats, African-American men die at a younger rate than anyone else in this country. And so there is also a significant impact on brothers. And so while we can joke about it, we appreciate it. If this leads to healthier lifestyle and choices, then that's a very good thing.
I agree. Very, very good to set us back on track, Roland, as I objectify Will Smith. Very good point. Thank you so much, Angela Rye, Roland Martin, and Amanda Nguyen. You guys will all have to come back. This is my favorite part of the show. I love hearing all your thoughts.